Meghan Markle complains that nobody has complained about her for a while.
Have you been hanging out with Meghan and Harry since they've been in California?
No, I don't know them.
What do you think of them?
I admire Harry for going to Afghanistan. Anybody who's had military service, I can only criticize so much because I have.
I think he's not the brightest bulb in the tulip patch, Harry, to put it politely. I think she is very manipulative.
She is the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time. That is why everything had to be perfectly curated.
But they're ridiculous after that. They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Meghan Markle is someone who's basically got rid of almost her entire family on her side, apart from her mother, her entire family on the father's side, including her father, which is incredibly sad.
She has done the world premiere episode of actually being on someone else's podcast.
And now she's wrestled Harry away from his family. So how happy they really are in this mansion in California when they have no connection now with any of their family.
And don't forget your local beekeeper.
Yeah.
Your local beekeeper.
Oh, yeah, because she has a bee hive, which she goes to. That's how they open the whole series with her bees. And like, don't worry, if you don't have this, just go to your local beekeeper. Clearly, we're living in different.
What do you get when a podcast episode meant to showcase raw vulnerability turns into the internet's favorite roast session? A perfect storm of stage tears, over-the-top praise, and a dash of royal drama.
But to just really go, and not with an energy of like, I'm over it, I don't care. No, I care.
Meghan Markle has been in the hot seat before, but this time, the backlash is next level. From questionable tears to carefully crafted chaos, we're diving deep into the most recent public spectacle that has audiences everywhere rolling their eyes. And not because of allergies. Let's rewind to what was supposed to be Meghan's big comeback moment, a heartfelt chat on her friend Jamie Kern Lima's podcast. The setup was classic, relatable Duchess. No makeup, cozy sweats, dim lighting, and a carefully curated sense of authenticity. But for many viewers, it didn't take long for the illusion to fall apart. Critics described the vibe as off, noting how Meghan's voice trembled at convenient times, and her eyes welled up without ever quite producing a tear. Remember those school plays where someone forgot to cry in the emotional scene? Yeah, it felt like that. And social media didn't hold back. Even her tears have a PR team, and this is Oscar-worthy in the worst way, started flooding in.
We spend so much of our life trying to prove something. To prove that you're enough. You have to prove that you're pretty enough. You have to prove that you're smart enough. You prove that you're a good wife or a good friend. And I was like, I am just so done with the prove it game.
But the skepticism didn't stop with the tears. People began digging deeper. Because let's face it, we love a good unraveling. Just 40 minutes into the podcast, a grainy photo flashed on screen. It showed a sweet-looking gift basket filled with homemade preserves, ice cream toppings, and a handwritten card. Sounds wholesome, right? Until you realize the card was signed Her Royal Highness. To a close friend? In private, after the titles were officially dropped. It's the kind of detail that feels small until it isn't. Many saw this as yet another example of Meghan clinging to her royal status, not letting go of the fairy tale even as she writes a whole new script.
Have you been hanging out with Meghan and Harry since they've been in California?
No, I don't know them.
What do you think of them?
I admire Harry for going to Afghanistan. Anybody who's had military service, I can only criticize so much because I haven't. And there's nothing that compares to military service. But they're ridiculous after that. They're just...
Now, let's talk business. Because behind every headline is usually a brand trying to sell something. In Meghan's case, that brand is As Ever, a lifestyle line that promises elegance, comfort, and apparently, baked goods. The launch was framed as a triumph. Products sold out in 30 minutes. But not everyone was buying the narrative. Quite literally. Turns out the product drop was so limited that sold out didn't exactly mean flying off the shelves. It meant there wasn't much stock to begin with, and some fans who did manage to place orders still waiting on those packages weeks later. Cue the eye rolls. To make matters more complicated,
And I love how she's like, we sold out in 45 minutes. Meanwhile, not said is, what was the inventory like? Honestly,
Right, that's
like,
what I
for
was
all I know,
wondering,
she
too.
had 20 jars of jam and 20 of her weird popcorn things. I have no idea. It's not necessarily a sign of success that you sold out in 45 minutes. I have no idea what your inventory was.
Meghan's podcast chat was laced with detailed explanations of her oh-so-demanding daily life. Between writing captions, managing drop-offs for her kids at 2 different schools, organizing product cadences, and crafting newsletters, Meghan painted a picture of tireless hustle.
They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
I thought South Park did.
You know,
We want our privacy.
They
summed it up really.
They just strike me as creatures of that generation.
But for many, it sounded more like a Tuesday. And when you're a duchess with a full-time nanny and a team of assistants, let's just say the relatable working mom narrative doesn't exactly land.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous. I totally agree. Look, you've had an extraordinary life. How long do you think you can keep doing this? Decades?
Forever.
Now, enter Jamie Kern Lima, the podcast, host and Meghan's self-declared friend. The energy in the room? Let's call it toxic positivity meets awkward cheerleading. Jamie's wide-eyed reactions and constant affirmations. That's so beautiful. You're amazing. Yes, yes, gave the whole thing the energy of a motivational infomercial. One media critic even joked that Jamie's pitch was so high, dogs were probably responding to it. And while Jamie is no stranger to success, she did sell her company for $1 billion. Her constant praise of Meghan felt to many like less of a conversation and more of a one-woman pep rally. Of course, this entire campaign wasn't just about emotions and product lines. It was also a strategic step in reshaping Meghan's public image. And what better way to boost a personal brand than a slot at the prestigious Time 100 Summit? Well, almost prestigious. While Meghan wasn't actually on the 2025 Time 100 list, she still appeared at the event, prompting questions about whether access was earned or purchased. Her speech, filled with poetic musings about dried flower petals on scrambled eggs and tiny magical moments, was met with collective confusion. One viewer described it as word salad with a side of elitism. Ouch. Meanwhile, on a very different media tour, Prince Harry stirred controversy of his own with a BBC interview addressing his ongoing concerns about personal security in the UK. His plea for protection came after losing a court appeal. And his emotional appeal included the line, "If anything happens to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, look where the responsibility lies." Subtle? Not so much. Critics accused him of guilt-tripping the royal family, particularly King Charles, who is currently dealing with a serious health issue. And insiders hinted that this kind of public grievance only deepens the growing rift within the family. By now, it's hard to separate the image from the person. Meghan's carefully constructed world, whether through a podcast, a summit speech, or a curated product launch, always seems to orbit the same themes: emotional openness, misunderstood hardship, and a desire to be seen as authentic. But when every tier leads back to a sales funnel, and every anecdote ties into a product or brand, the line between vulnerable and calculated gets blurrier by the day. So, is Meghan Markle really the misunderstood modern royal, navigating fame with grace and grit? Or has she simply mastered the art of performance, leveraging sympathy for influence in a world that rewards drama with attention? One thing's for sure, audiences are no longer watching with blind adoration. They're watching with popcorn. And in this era of podcasts, platforms, and personal brands, the real question isn't whether Meghan cried, it's whether anyone believed her.